Alright, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling, honestly, one of the most frustrating universal mysteries of the entire human experience. Why on earth do we procrastinate? Why do we set these incredible life-changing goals only to watch them just completely fizzle out a few weeks later? Well, if you're a focused learner looking for the actual mechanics of achievement, we're talking real science here, not just motivational fluff, you are absolutely in the right place. So, let's dive right in.
I want you to ask yourself right now, why do our biggest, most ambitious goals fail? We've all been there, right? We've got the desire, we have the grand vision, and yet there's this massive, frustrating disconnect between our ambition and our daily execution. What is actually happening inside our brains when we hit that wall?
While we all know this scene perfectly, it's New Year's Eve, you're buzzing with excitement, and you announce to everyone that this is the year. You're finally going to lose the 20 pounds, run that marathon, or write that novel. For a fleeting moment, literally anything feels possible. But fast forward a week later, and what happens? The gym bag is back in the closet, just gathering dust. The laptop is shut tight. Now, we usually blame this on laziness, right? We beat ourselves up over it. But the research actually shows something entirely different. And this is a total neuropsychological mythbuster, so listen closely. Procrastination is not laziness. According to neuropsychotherapist Britt Frank, our brains are hardwired for efficiency and survival, not necessarily for health or success. So when you take on a massive new goal, your brain kind of glitches. It actually can't easily distinguish between the threat level of a literal lion approaching and a huge assignment being due. It senses this massive pattern interruption, hits the panic button, and throws us into a literal freeze response. It just says, nope, absolutely not doing this today. To bypass that ancient survival mechanism, we're going to need a completely different kind of fuel.
Which brings us to part 1, unlocking self-efficacy.
And this right here is the real psychological engine of true success. Albert Bandura's concept of self-efficacy. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the difference between confidence and self-efficacy. Confidence is just a general, vague feeling. You can be a generally confident person but still completely bomb at a specific task. Self-efficacy, which was introduced by Stanford psychologist Albert Bandura, is hyper-specific. It's your scientifically grounded belief in your capacity to execute a very specific task to get a specific outcome. It's not just saying, I feel good about myself today. It's saying, I know I can deliver this presentation because I have the exact skills required to pull it off.
So Bandura identified 4 main pillars to build this powerful self-efficacy. Number 1 is mastery experiences, actually doing the things successfully. Number 2 is vicarious experiences, essentially having role models. 3 is verbal persuasion, which is receiving credible, real encouragement. And 4 is managing your emotional states. Now, all 4 of these definitely matter, but the research is incredibly clear on this. First-hand mastery experiences are the absolute strongest factor, hands down. Literally nothing convinces your brain that you can do something quite like actually going out and achieving it firsthand.
But what if you're just starting out and you don't have that mastery yet? Well, that's where vicarious experiences become absolutely vital. Seeing people similar to yourself succeed through sustained effort acts like a mental blueprint. If you see a relatable role model struggle, push through the anxiety, and eventually succeed, it actually teaches your brain that setbacks are completely normal and totally manageable. It proves to your subconscious that, hey, you too possess the capabilities to master comparable activities. But how do we practically build those mastery experiences in our own lives without triggering our brain's internal alarm system? How do we bypass that freeze response we talked about earlier?
Let's look at part 2, the power of small wins.
We do it by using the incredible power of small wins. And you have to consider this wild statistic from high-performance research. Only 12% of our brain power is handled by our conscious mind. Just 12. That's our monkey mind, the part that sits around setting those big, lofty goals. The remaining 88%? That is entirely subconscious. So when you try to force a massive change overnight, that tiny 12% is trying to drag a kicking and screaming 88% into the complete unknown. Honestly, it's no wonder we get overwhelmed and completely shut down.
So the workaround here is a tactic called decomposition. We have to break tasks down into what Britt Frank calls micro yeses. We literally need to make the first step so ridiculously small that your subconscious doesn't even register it as a threat. Like if your goal is to go for a massive run and your brain just freezes up, your micro yes might literally just be, put one sock on your foot, that's it. It's a task so incredibly tiny that it completely prevents the brain's fear response from ever activating.
And this process builds a real neurological positive feedback loop. First, you figure out the absolute tiniest first step. Second, get out of your head. Seriously, stop analyzing why you're procrastinating and just look at that one tiny step. And third, just do it. Because when you complete even a microscopic chunk of a task, it creates momentum. It sparks actual dopamine in the brain, giving you a natural biological hit of motivation. Psychologist Jeffrey Bernstein points out something huge here. Motivation doesn't precede action, it actually follows it. Action is what creates the motivation to keep going. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, putting on a sock is great for daily chores, but does this actually work when everything is on the line? Well, let's shift over to the extreme end of the human spectrum to find out.
This is Part 3, Building Mental Toughness. We're going to look at Navy SEALs and extreme endurance athletes right now, just to prove that these exact same psychological mechanics apply under the most intense pressure imaginable. In SEAL Fit training, former Navy SEAL Mark Devine teaches that the very first step to ultimate mental toughness is permanently removing the quit option, period. Quitting in training might get you a warm blanket and a cup of coffee right now, but you have to live with that regret forever. In life or death situations, quitting just simply isn't an option. By closing the back door entirely, your brain is actually forced to adapt to the hardship instead of constantly looking for an escape route.
And that leads directly to what Devine calls the 20X factor. Think about Navy SEAL Hell Week. Candidates endure over 100 hours of continuous training with almost zero sleep. Now, most people's 12% conscious mind is screaming that this is physically impossible. But once the mind accepts that quitting is completely off the table, the body and the subconscious actually adapt. You learn that you are truly capable of at least 20 times more than your self-imposed limitations ever allowed you to believe. It's mind-blowing.
But seriously, how do they actually survive those 100 hours? Well, they definitely don't do it by staring at the finish line. And this shows exactly how high-stakes performers survive utter chaos. They use micro-goals. If you're standing in the freezing surf on a Monday morning, a terrible goal is make it to Friday. Your brain will just freeze. Instead, their goal is just make it to sunrise. Why? Because the sun warms you up and things just look a little bit better in the light. Micro-goal, micro-victory, next. It entirely forces the monkey mind to focus exclusively on the present moment.
Now, throughout all this extreme adversity, your internal dialogue is absolutely critical. At SEAL Fit, they ask this really provocative question: what dog are you feeding? The dog of fear or the dog of courage? See, the human mind naturally drifts toward negative programming. It's just what it does. So you have to actively use pattern interrupts, like literally shouting a power statement out loud or physically standing taller, to interdict that negative thinking and jolt your system with positively charged electricity. Positive self-talk isn't just some fluffy self-help advice. It's a tactical necessity. All right, let's bring this powerful explainer back down to earth for a second. You probably aren't going into a combat zone or a 100-hour hell week today, but you definitely have your own high-stakes goals, careers, and personal mountains to climb.
So, let's get into Part 4, your daily action plan.
How do we actually implement these elite mechanics into your normal daily life? Well, the first tool in your new arsenal is visual tracking. Tracking your progress religiously transforms all that abstract effort into tangible, dopamine-releasing success. By using something simple like a habit tracker card to mark off every single micro-win, you are literally gathering hard evidence of your own capabilities. It is the ultimate defense against imposter syndrome because you're proving to your brain day after day that you are building real, undeniable self-efficacy.
Next up is automating those micro-wins, and we use author James Clear's brilliant habit stacking template for this. You just find a habit you already do effortlessly, and you stack a brand new micro-habit right on top of it. For example, after I close my car door, I will take 3 deep breaths. Or, after I turn on the shower, I'm going to do 5 burpees. It removes the mental friction entirely, simply because the old habit acts as an automatic trigger for the new one. It's like a chain reaction.
And I really want to emphasize this. No task is too small to build your self-efficacy engine. Just look at these real daily micro-wins. Drink an extra glass of water. Sit quietly for just 2 minutes. Clear exactly 3 emails. Smile at one stranger. If your brain is feeling overwhelmed, you just shrink the goal until the resistance totally disappears. These hyper-specific, super mundane examples are exactly the kind of proximal goals that build massive, unstoppable momentum over time.
So what you should really take away from all of this is that confidence is absolutely not a switch you just flip overnight. True self-efficacy is a cumulative muscle. It's built by proving to yourself through undeniable mastery experiences that you can execute. By decomposing your goals, constantly feeding the dog of courage, and aiming to get just 1% better every single day, you completely bypass your brain's alarm system. And eventually, you become completely unstoppable.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final vital question to answer the exact moment this explainer ends. I want you to look at that massive, intimidating goal you've been procrastinating on. What is your very first micro win going to be today? Shrink it down, take action, get that dopamine hit, and start building your engine of success right now.